What if the police stopped forcing you to tear off your car's tinted windows, and the courts told them to chill for now? That's exactly the turning point Nigeria finds itself at, as the Nigeria police force has temporarily suspended enforcement of the tinted glass permit law. Here's what you need to know, and why this pause could matter more than you think. What just went down? The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has temporarily suspended enforcement of the Motor Vehicles Prohibition of Tinted Glass Act 1991. This decision followed a meeting with the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, whose president, Afam Josiah Osigwe Asen, led a delegation to the police headquarters in Abuja. The suspension is in place pending the hearing of a motion on notice scheduled for October 16, 2025, at the Federal High Court in Warri, Delta State. Why this happened? Legal pressure, public outcry, and uncertain rules. Court orders and litigation. A lawsuit, John Ikpokpo Martins versus Inspector General of Police and Nigerian Police Force, Suit No. FHC/WR/CS/103/2025, was filed challenging the renewed enforcement of tinted glass permit requirements. The Federal High Court in Warri issued an interim order directing the police to suspend enforcement and maintain the status quo while the case is heard. Concerns raised. Many motorists, legal practitioners, and civil society groups had decried the enforcement as harassing, exploitative, and inconsistent, especially when it involved factory-fitted tinted windows. Questions were raised about the cost, procedural fairness, clarity of regulation, e.g. what level of tint is acceptable, and whether the law as enforced respects rights to privacy, freedom of movement, and property. Role of the NBA and stakeholders. The Nigerian Bar Association's engagement seems to be central. The presence of judicial scrutiny plus the NBA's public interest arguments likely influenced the IGP's decision to suspend enforcement. A joint committee between the police and the NBA has been inaugurated to foster cooperation, ensure enforcement is lawful and rights-respecting, and to help restore public confidence. What it means for motorists and the broader system. Short-term relief. For now, motorists with tinted windows, especially those with factory or legally imported tinted glass, won't be subject to punishment until after the court's decision. This gives room for vehicle owners to regularize documentation, ensure they have the required permit, if needed once enforcement resumes, and understand the legal position. Questions around implementation. How will factory tinted versus aftermarket tinting be treated going forward? The law is murky in how it handles those distinctions. Will the police continue to stop motorists during the interim, harassing them or extorting money under the guise of tinted glass infractions? Past reports suggest this has been a concern. Legal and constitutional implications. The case is testing how far enforcement of old laws can stretch into modern realities, e.g. cars that come with tints from the factory, modern manufacturing standards. It raises issues of due process, fairness, and rights under the Constitution, especially if enforcement is selective, arbitrary, or non-transparent. Public confidence and police legitimacy. The suspension, combined with visible dialogue between the police and legal professionals via the NBA, shows that public pressure and institutional checks still have power. It may set precedent for how law enforcement responds to public pushback and legal challenges in the future. What to watch for? Next steps and possible outcomes. Here are some scenarios to keep an eye on. 1. Court rules the tinted glass permit law or the enforcement policy unconstitutional. If the court finds for the plaintiffs, police may be permanently barred from enforcing the permit or may be required to amend how they enforce it. 2. Reform or clarification of policy. The Joint Police NBA committee might help reshape or clarify the rules, e.g. define acceptable tint levels, offer exemptions, streamline permit process, prevent abuse at checkpoints. 3. Return of enforcement with better oversight. Enforcement might resume, but with improved procedures, digital transparency, permit renewals/documentation, checks against corruption and harassment. 4. Persisting contestation and citizen pushback. Even after formal changes, the memory of abusive enforcement could fuel mistrust. Civil society may continue to be vigilant. 5. Wider legal implications. The outcome could influence other enforcement policies that face similar constitutional challenges, e.g. traffic laws, permit regimes, regulatory overreach. Bigger picture: law, rights, and governance. This episode highlights the tension between security concerns, which are often cited by the police in favor of tinted glass regulation, and citizens' rights. It shows how laws made decades ago may lose legitimacy or fairness when applied in new contexts. The role of legal institutions and civil society, e.g. NBA, human rights associations, in check and balance over enforcement powers is crucial. Transparency, due process, and public trust matter. Not just enforcement, but how laws are enforced. Final thoughts. The suspension of exhaust tinted glass law enforcement isn't just a delay, it's a litmus test. How the government, the police, and the courts handle this matters for rule of law in Nigeria. For motorists, it's an opportunity to understand their rights. For institutions, it's a chance to show they can adapt. And for citizens, it's a reminder that challenges to government overreach can work, if grounded in law, not just resentment.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this update and want to stay informed with fast, reliable news, don't forget to subscribe to Newsflash 360. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Your next headline is just seconds away.